Hey everybody, this is Doa, and today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I'm going to actually analyze one of my own games. Let me get the mouse pointer out of the way there. Get out of here, mouse pointer. Alright, and already my opponent. This is on the Korean server, by the way. Looks like he wanted to pause, giving me a reason, but of course I can't really understand Korean, so I just say KK, hoping he understands what I mean. Apparently he doesn't, so I think he just goes ahead and pauses it anyway. So a little bit of a delay at the start of this game anyway. A lot of games actually start this way on the Korean ladder. But anyway, yeah, I like to go back and watch one of my games every once in a while. As you can see, I am playing Zerg now instead of Terran. I did play random for about a month and a half on the Korean ladder. Eventually decided to stick with Zerg. And I think that's a good way to do it. I mean, my whole approach to playing the game really is just to kind of get a better understanding of the races for casting. So I'm not necessarily playing to, get extremely good at the game. I'm not necessarily playing to, get to masters as fast as possible or anything like that. I just want to really understand the feel of each race, understand what's going on in a game. So when I see something happen in a game that I'm casting, I can know how that player is kind of feeling and, can hopefully relate that better to you, the viewer. So that's kind of my motivation. Oh, and also for fun as well. So yeah, I mean, still, having a lot of fun playing StarCraft 2, and that's really my motivation for actually playing Zerg. Is I know a lot of people are saying, oh, they're the underpowered race right now, Zerg. Oh no, Zerg. But honestly, I have a ton of fun with Zerg. Even if I lose, I love playing as Zerg. I played Zerg a lot in Brood War, so yeah, deciding to play some Zerg in StarCraft 2 for a while now. Probably going to play only Zerg for about maybe a month or two and then move on to another race. Who knows, maybe I just will stick with Zerg, maybe not. Tried Protoss for a couple weeks, didn't really like it too much. Scouting my opponent here. This is on Shattered Temple. As you can see, I got my gas first and then my pool. I want to get that speedling upgrade very early, doing a little bit of scouting here. My opponent is in close air positions. I have no idea what my opponent's name is. Who knows? And going for that expansion again, of course, right after I get that that pool basically up and going. And I'm a little bit kind of fuzzy on the ZvP opening. I mean, when I see it in the game, I can obviously recognize it. Decided to do a little bit of a gas steal there too as well. And the reason I do that is because I've noticed on the ladder anyway where I play, if I do a gas steal like that, a lot of times that actually prompts my opponent to try to 4-gate me, which I'm actually pretty good at holding off. And yeah, I did find that proxy pylon there as well, so I'll be taking care of that in just a moment too. But as you can see too with my overlords, I'm sending one up at the top of the map. I scouted his base, and the one thing I like to do is send an overlord on this map to each of the third base locations, the kind of the island locations, just so that I can kind of keep an eye on when he takes his third. If it gets to that point in the game, I just find it useful to have an overlord out there. So that's kind of fun. Producing a couple zerglings, maybe a few too many zerglings there. I think that looked like it was about 8. Maybe about 6 would probably be enough. And so I see him chrono boosting the cybernetics core as well. So that ideally is telling me, hopefully he's going to do some sort of early push. I can put down a couple spine crawlers and defend against that. Pylon down, don't need to worry about that. And yeah, so at this point, I know a zealot is attacking my extractor, and a lot of times if you're doing that, if you're lucky, you can actually get some zerglings into the base, do some scouting, do a little bit of irritation to your Protoss opponent. So that's another reason why I kind of like doing the gas steals, because a lot of times Protoss players, at least at my level anyway, will be kind of silly and pull their zealot back to do that. So I'm all ready to run into the base. What am I going to see? 2 more zealots. A little bit odd that he would have 2 zealots there. I lost a zergling, probably unnecessarily there. Okay, so that's 6 zerglings. It's not so bad actually. Alright, so continuing with drone production right now. Gonna transfer some over, try to get things balanced a little bit. And I usually like to put down 2 initial spine crawlers in both ZVT and ZvP. Now, when I saw that many zealots, that kind of struck me as a little bit odd. Kind of suggested that maybe he would be going for some early pressure, so I did put down a 3rd initially as well on this one, just to kind of stay safe. If you don't have spine crawlers and the Protoss does decide to try to 4-gate you, or do the expand and 5-gate push, then if you don't have spine crawlers, you're probably gonna die. So it's good to have those down there. Putting down a Roach Warren as well. I've been getting my Roach Warren pretty early in a lot of my ZVPs. Sometimes you can just kind of go Lucerus style and just crush them with Zerg Roach if they're not careful. And what is happening to my computer? Alright, this is on my laptop, so my laptop may be having kind of some issues apparently. Hopefully that cleans up a little bit. Fraps on the laptop. Doesn't work as well, unfortunately, as Fraps on my desktop, although this is a pretty decent laptop. But hopefully that is the last of the irritation. Hopefully this is still recording, who knows. My microphone's been acting a little bit weird lately too. Oh, everything goes wrong at once. It's terrible. Alright, so as the game goes, I'm still producing lots of drones, producing some more lings, doing some scouting. As you can see, I've got another ling right outside his base. I want to keep looking for that expansion, and I'm noticing that about this time is when the expansion will be coming out. I see all those units. I can pretty much assume there's going to be an early push. At least in this case, you know, that's what you would probably want to assume. Usually around 34 food is when the Protoss player gets their expansion. So I know we're a little bit past that. Plus I see the Stalkers in the army as well. So I don't know. I'm thinking either this guy is kind of bad, or he is not expanding. He's going to do some sort of push. Somehow the rally point for my 2 hatcheries got a little bit off. I don't know how that happened. Sometimes it's easy to misclick. For anyone who's curious, I usually average around 130 in-game APM for my Zerg games now, which I think in like real APM, I think Artosa said you add 40% to that, so I don't know what that would be. Oh no, math. Let's see, 130. Let's make it easy. 120 divided by 260. So minus 50. So I don't know, maybe like 170, 180 actual APM. And I don't know, just watching a lot of Zerg players, especially watching players like Maro, talking to him a lot. He and I talked a ton about Zerg when he was here for the World Championships. And he said something that I definitely kind of agree with. He said you probably need at least around 200 APM, if not a little bit higher, to properly macro as Zerg. So, and I think that's true. I really do. To get your injects regular, to get your creep spread regular. As you can see, I'm not spreading creep. I usually have a 3rd queen by now, but I decided not to get one this game, and I'm looking for that expansion again. I still see no expansion, but he hasn't moved out, so I'm like, what is this guy doing? So I don't know. That's a lot of units. I've got 4 spine crawlers now, so I feel pretty safe. I've got some roaches out. I can kind of keep producing some drones. So see if he decides to attack or not. And you can say I'm also breaking down the rocks to take my 3rd as well. Since he's not attacking, I'm thinking to myself, alright, well, I guess if he's on one base, he's being a little bit passive, I'm just going to take a 3rd, get, you know, better macro going. I produce another round of Zerglings there just to kind of stay extra safe. But for the most part, keeping up pretty well with my drone production. And as you can see, I'm trying to get my larva injects pretty good. I think I've kind of got a handle on that now, but that is one of the more difficult things, is kind of internalizing the larva inject timings. But once you do it a lot, you know, that it kind of gets easier, I think. I feel like it's a lot easier. To be completely honest, I feel like macroing with Zerg is easier than macroing with any of the other races. And I'm not saying that's empirically true, but I am saying that for me anyway, it seems easier to macro with Zerg than Protoss or Terran. Terran, it's a little bit surprising because Terran is so easy to macro with. As you can see, I've got my 3rd base on the way, and I've still got Zerglings up at the top of the map, kind of keeping an eye for that army to move out. I've got the tower as well. So right now, I'm just kind of trying to play defensively because at any moment he could move out. I know he has a pretty large army. I'm kind of guessing at this point that he might be going Robo just because he hasn't moved in yet, and I haven't seen any Void Rays. Running some more Speedlings, and again, there's the expansion now, so I'm like, alright, well, just a really late expansion, I guess. And then I'm like, you know, his army actually isn't too big. It's one of the kind of misconceptions you can kind of get as a player, is you see the edge of the army and your mind just creates this gigantic 200 army where there obviously is not one. So yeah, right now I'm actually feeling pretty confident. I'm like, okay, I didn't actually see a whole lot of sentries, a lot of zealots, a lot of stalkers, so that's good for me. The less sentries, the better. So right now I'm creating some drones. I'm also creating, you know, a good amount of offensive units as well, kind of trying to get a balance. Now, one thing that you do want to watch out for with the Protoss that's being a little bit passive like that, I think, is DTs. As you can see, I'm putting a Spore Crawler in each mineral line just to be safe. And it's not really a huge investment to do that, but, you know, I think it's well worth it. I think I'm also getting my Roach, or my Hydra Den down as well. That's what that is right there. And now it is time to Maynard some drones over, I believe. At least I hope I will be soon. I think there are a couple of them go. So right now, I mean, I've got a good force of roaches. I've got a good amount of speedlings. I've got a queen spreading creep. Although my creep spread isn't the best this game. I usually do a little bit better with the creep spread. I kind of have sort of put spawning larva and creep spread into the same step. Like whenever I spawn larva, I spread creep. So spawn larva, then spread your creep. That's what I do every single game. So except this one apparently. Yeah, so creep spread not the best. That's one of the reasons why I watch games like this, is so I can kind of keep an eye on things. And at this point, you can see I'm sending out some overlords to different points in the map. In the early mid-game, like we are right now, we're at about 13 minutes in. I like to take a bunch of those overlords sitting around. Once I have overlord speed and I'm on lair tech, I can send one out to basically all the expansions and put creep there. So keep an eye on it. Get a lot of map control in the form of lots of vision. Definitely like doing that. Getting my upgrades as well right now. Hydra range is either finished or it's on the way, one of the two. And now I can kind of start producing some Hydras as well. So it's kind of that point in the game where I'm producing sort of a mix of drones and Hydras and Roaches. And I've still got a nice pack of Zerglings as well in case he does go something like Blink Stalkers. The big problem that I have right now in this game is that I really don't know what he's doing. I know he's expanded. I know he's got a lot of gateway units. But I don't know what his tech is. And this is kind of the worst thing that I am... This is the worst thing what am I trying to say here? I just woke up really tired. This is like my weak point in ZV anything, is that I don't overlord scout when I really should. I've got a lot of vision around the map, but oh, see, that's where their spore crawlers come in handy. You can pick off observers. It's kind of nice. So I see that. Now I know he's on Robotech. There we go. Who needs to scout anyway? I'm just kidding. I should totally be sending an Overlord Scout into his base right now. I should have actually done it a long time ago. I should also have an Overseer or two right now just to stay on the safe side. As you can see, my money is getting a little bit high. Not sure quite why that is. I think I must be occupied doing other things. But again, you know, I'm not terribly good at handling lots of bases. I'm on 3 bases right now, which, you know, for me it's a lot of bases. So my macro is slipping a little bit. Okay, now I know he is moving out. So now it's time to produce a lot of units, spawn larvae, spread the creep, try to get in a position. As you can see, I've got my Zerglings up there, my other army in a different position. I was going to break down the rocks for my gold expansion, but I thought, hey, you know, we'll leave them there anyway. So there it is. He thinks I'm probably already on 4 bases right now, so I can see him heading towards that. I decide I could possibly try to trap him at that point. I do get an extra group of Speedlings. I don't know, I just really like Speedlings against Protoss. I decide to send all those guys in there to make him think that I have a lot. You know, maybe that's my whole army. Oh, and then my guys attack. But I'm like, where is Colossus? Alright, so I know his army control really isn't the best right now. So hopefully I can use that to my advantage. He obviously did let his Colossi get pretty far away from his army there. So hopefully I can capitalize on that a little bit later in the game. But here comes the army now. Colossi are indeed separated, so I run my Zerglings in right now. Try to get a surround on the Colossi, but I don't exactly do the best job. But with the upgrades and the numbers right now, I'm actually doing pretty well in this fight. He is bringing in more stalkers at the moment. I do decide to pull back. I'm like, well, there's no reason to push that. I did some damage. Maybe he'll pull back as well. He does not, though, so right now I'm in a little bit of trouble. My army is definitely smaller, but I am producing another big round of units. All I need to do is hold off until the other roaches spawn. I noticed that he's very low on gateway units right now. I should have pulled these back a little bit more. I do decide to pull drones as well, just to stay on the safe side. Here come all the units. I like going Speedling Hydra against this at this point because he doesn't have any sentries or anything like that. And Speedlings, if they can surround the Colossi, actually do pretty well, as you can see. So there we go. There is the attack. My Queen's even coming along for moral support. Time to send the drones back home to do a little bit more mining. And then also take out the rocks to get my 3rd. I believe that's when I do it. Now, I did make a big mistake here in that my one queen accidentally got hotkeyed. My queen at the natural expansion got hotkeyed in with the rest of my army. Whoops. And so now she's going to basically chase it all around, and that's going to make larva injects a little bit tougher. So mistake by me there. Decide to do some scouting there to see what he has. It's such a great feeling when you're playing ZvC and you're able to crush that first big push that they make. You can just sit back and macro up, know that you're way ahead. As you can see from the food tab right now, I'm 40 supply ahead. So I don't know this at this point, but while I was playing this game, I did know that I am ahead, so that's not bad. My creep spread is a little bit lax again, but he did kill a lot of creep tumors, so that does happen. And again, I can see on my mini-map right now that he's going for his gold and that he also hasn't taken his 3rd, so I know again that I am way ahead. I'm feeling pretty confident that I can take the gold instead of trying to take, you know, a more safe 4th, quote-unquote. Yeah, so at this point, not really trying to push my advantage. I need to macro up. As you can see, I'm even farther ahead in food now. I'm now 50 food ahead. So that's kind of the ultimate lesson. I mean, just like you hear all the time in the GSL, when you're ahead, get more ahead. So right now I'm building up an army, making more drones, getting my gold base going. And yeah, pulling those overlords away. No need to unnecessarily sacrifice them. The creep's going to prevent him from putting down expansion for a little while at least. One thing I may want to do though is make sure that that gold expansion doesn't get up. We'll see. Now, one thing I've been doing quite a bit in ZvP lately is always upgrading drop. I don't necessarily use it terribly much, but I do like to get it just in case. And this is the one of the games where I decide, you know, I'm in close air positions. I just crushed his army. I know I've got a good food advantage, as you can see, I guess from the food tab. I'm almost 100 food ahead right now. So I decide that I'm going to drop him and then also push his main with my main army. As you can see, I produced a big round of offensive units. So I'm going to drop a pretty decent sized drop in his main and push from the front as well. I'm hoping that this will just be too much for him to handle. At least I'm hoping that my drop of the main, which is going to hit a little bit first, is going to distract him from my push at the natural. Since I'm sure that he, you know, the nexus for the gold is still building. So there's my drop at the main. Pulling my overlords back right away. I don't necessarily need to use those. Those units are basically suicide troops anyway. And at the same time, pushing the main. So we're going to have to see how this goes right now. Trying to keep up with my injects. I see that he doesn't have a whole lot. A couple colossi. I like that there. That is exactly what I want to see. And I push the main. So, you know, not the best executed attack ever, but it's doing its job. I was so far ahead at this point, it really didn't even matter, I guess. Do some injects there. And do some damage to the main. Did kill off his forge, I believe. Kill off his natural. And now at this point, I see that army and I'm like, no, there's no reason to push. I'm just going to try to pull back here. And then his colossi come a little bit out of position, so I'm like, you know, I could just try to pick off as many colossi as I can. I know he's not going to be able to reproduce them. Yeah, so I do go in there, pick off 2 of the colossi and kind of sack those other units. Because certainly I feel like it's worth it at this point. I have a great economy right now. I'm ahead. I can reproduce my army a lot faster than his. And so if I can get rid of those big expensive units and he's only on 1 base, then it's not really a huge deal. He might just barely have his gold going right now, but he's probably not getting a whole lot of use out of it. A couple units still in the main from before. And he does decide to counterattack. Now, I don't have a whole lot of Hydras right now. I do try to mic them back so that his Colossi isn't hitting them. Colossi in the main as well, apparently. And at this point, I just produce more roaches. He doesn't have a whole lot of units. And that should be basically it. So, WWGG. And there it is. I'm able to win. Partially the crippling blow, I mean, distracting his army by dropping in the main, let me kill his natural, so I knew I was already ahead after winning that first fight, but just kind of a fun thing to do to sort of make sure that I was far enough ahead to eventually win the game. So that's about it. I mean, I don't know, I think I played, for me, pretty well in that game. Definitely made a lot of mistakes, definitely a lot of stuff I could work on. But certainly enjoying Zerg. Hopefully enjoyed this too. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit educational. Maybe it's just kind of a little bit entertaining. Who knows? Whatever. What is this Colossus doing? He's just kind of hanging out. He's like the lone Colossus. He's defecting, I guess. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks again for watching, guys. This is Doa again. If you like my stuff, definitely subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at DoaSC. And yeah, see you guys on the GSL stream. And keep playing StarCraft 2.